Well, let's call this meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Taylor. Woken. Goss.
Here.
Harper.
Here.
Loxton. Loxton. Rodriguez. Summers.
Present. Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll
Stan,
second.
and then Jenny. All right, motion in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Again, can I have a motion? Thank you, Jody.
Second.
Second. Mr. Goss. All right, motion in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I don't think we have public participation. I think we have information sitting out there. Let's go on. Any new business? We have the update on the Elias asphalt shingle replacement job. Dana, could you carry us on that?
All right. So this is Elias. River City Roofing was our vendor, contractor, who was the low bidder for this project. Project has been completed. They did a marvelous job of getting in and getting out as quickly as they could. That project actually took 4 days, but they attacked it with a very large workforce. They have submitted their first and final pay application. Pay app is for $299,280. That is the same amount that's on their bid. There have been no change orders issued for all. Cincinnati, this is funded through insurance, through our capital asset fund. Cincinnati Insurance has already issued us a check for $173,000 and some change. Their replacement cost estimate was about $30,000 less than the actual cost of the project. We have asked, as of this morning, for the additional $94,000 and change, which is part of the recoverable depreciation. They don't give you all the money up front. They dole it out, and you can apply for it after the project is over. They are taking a look at River City's pay documentation as well as the project itself, and will let us know in the next several days if they plan to help us out with additional funding of that $30,000 that we're short on this project. Any other shortages that they don't cover would be covered by our capital asset fund. But I'm fairly confident we'll get at least a portion of that back from Cincinnati. So, any questions?
Sorry, Dana, I can't remember. What's our deductible? Is it 50,000?
$5,000 per building.
5,000 per building. Okay, better than I thought. Thanks.
So that's actually already been taken out and covered by our budget. And keep going.
Thank you. Keep going, by all means.
Okay.
Go on to
So
asphalt
update
shingle.
on the courthouse asphalt shingle project that has started. Our vendor is Knickerbocker. Knickerbocker, from my perspective, and we'll hear Todd's in just a second, but been doing an absolutely fabulous job. Reminder that they're replacing all the asphalt shingles on the old roof and on the Mansford roof, 3 sides of the new building. So you're up 5-6 stories, and those roofs are very steep, but there are safety protocols in place. I just think I've been really impressed. We have not had any issues, when you're dealing with that kind of work, noisy work at the courthouse. We have yet to been shut down due to noise by judges or court security. So I really think that we will not see an issue or problem with them on that. And they've been very good about communicating what's going on. And again, taking those safety measures for both our staff coming in and out of the building as well as the general public. So we work closely when we were working on the west side of the building with MTD. If you don't know, but there is a fairly busy MTD stop and bus waiting area there on the west side. Again, working with MTD, they closed it down for, I think, 4 days and moved it just a quarter of a block over to Elm Street. They put people out to help direct for those 4 days. And so Monday it was shut down. Thursday afternoon it reopened. So MTD's cooperation was huge on this project, as well as Knickerbocker in protecting the bus waiting areas, which are all glass. So we have Todd Higginbotham here from Bailey Edward Architecture, who is kind of our partner in this. Todd, do you want to add anything to the project, where we're at? We initially thought, or actually Knickerbocker thought they'd be here for approximately 2 months. I don't think that is going to happen now. I think we're going to be much shorter than that. It may be 5 weeks, possibly. But as of today, they should have completed the asphalt shingle replacement on the old roof. And they were actually wanting to start tearing off some of the mansard roof on the south side of the building earlier today. So that roof will go pretty quick. It's not as steep, and it's high, but it's not as steep or as large as the asphalt shingles on the old building. Todd, you want to step up to the mic so you're recorded?
Hi, everyone. I just want to echo what Dana said about Knickerbocker. We're all pleased with their performance. I know that all of us at bid time didn't have that benefit of having lots of bids kind of know how that was all going to shake out. But we've been very pleased, and all the vetting that we had done prior to has been consistent with how they're performing. And I'm hopeful that this relationship will last on future projects in the area too.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions of Todd while he's here? Thanks again.
Okay, next up C, which is an update on our Brookins Pod 300 and 400, as well as a salt dome. Todd, don't go away. You're up next in a minute. Well, on the flat roofs here at Brookins, Knickerbocker is the low bidder. Their low bid was $848,100. Cincinnati Insurance replacement cost was estimate was $596,000 and a few pennies. Difference of $252,000 that we're trying to work through. August 17th, we had a meeting here at Brookins, physically getting off on the roof and over at the salt dome. The Cincinnati Insurance adjuster wanted to core the roof for himself to make sure he could see what's there and they could record it, because that's where some of the information that they had initially differed from what we had in our bid, because our partner in this already did the coring of the roof, so we knew exactly what was there. So they're looking at that information. They've promised to get back to us. I think I was on the phone with them 4 times today, trying to get some information so we could at least bring it out here at the meeting. And he was very apologetic. As you might guess, they've had lots of issues and problems around the country, and they are about as thin as anybody else. So he promised that he would get me that information by the end of the week, so we would have an idea and can move forward or have to rebid the Brookins portion. We did find several problems with the salt dome, so we made a decision, since there was quite a difference with the bid as from the Cincinnati Insurance replacement cost to rebid. And that bid information was included in your packet, but let me sidestep here and go back to Todd, and if you want to kind of fill in.
Todd, is your mic on?
Microphone, press the
Sorry.
button, and talk a little bit closer to it, if you would, please.
Sorry about that. Just briefly on Brookins, as Dana said, we had Cincinnati Insurance is wanting replacement to be like for like. We had incorporated a half-inch hardboard to prevent damage for stuff like what's happening now. So we're kind of working through that, but it was a productive meeting, being out there with them, talking through means and methods and logistics and all that. So we're hopeful that they'll come more to the middle and maybe a little bit more towards what the design intent is. In terms of the salt dome, we've adjusted accordingly to their request, like for like. We're replacing shingles, 2 layers of underlayment, but still doing some things that are important to the county, like synthetic wood fascia instead of just a regular wood fascia, so we get some longevity. And so that package is ready. We'll just establish some bid dates, and we'll be able to get that out the door as soon as we're told to.
Any questions? Hearing none.
Okay, D, so we've provided within the packet the new and updated bid document, both specifications and the Bailey Edwards drawings. Cincinnati Insurance adjusters have received and reviewed the packet as well, and they're very comfortable with it. So I think if you folks will approve this evening, we'll get it out on the street and hopefully come back with the more appropriate bids.
Does anybody have any other questions at this point? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the shingle replacement project bid?
So moved.
Thank you. Stan, second by Ms. Rodriguez. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to, unfortunately, more bad news.
Okay. Well, not as good news on the last 2 items. Actually, the next item is not as great of news. So this is the Satellite Jail HVAC replacement project. So, the building's 20-plus years old already. The mechanicals have done nothing but cause us great frustration over the last few years. And so we put I think a fine project together with the help of GHR Engineering. We got it out, got the bids out, received good quality bids. Low bidder was Davis Hauk, who's a local contractor, HVAC contractor, who does excellent work. But we've run into a number of snags, unfortunately, where we now understand that the project will not be completed in this fiscal year, but probably, it'll be completed next fiscal year, but hopefully April, no longer than April will it go on. We've had material and HVAC equipment delays from the manufacturer. We've also had some structural analysis work issues with a penthouse that has to be built on top that we'll have Richard Van Noot from GHR step in where Todd is, and he can give you a little bit of an update and a third opinion about what's happening with this project.
Okay, so as we kind of assessed this project initially, we had set this design up to use bar joists as the roof carrying system for the new penthouse. As the structural and the general contractor began to contact their suppliers after they had received their contracts, once they began contacting their suppliers to try to get the orders in on those and get their shop submittals in to where we could review, turns out that the lead times on bar joists have become very, very detrimental to any schedule that we had. The bar joists at this point in time, if ordered today, would likely not be in until April, if not early May. In discussions that we've had with them, that has been something that is kind of just nationwide. What we ended up doing to alleviate that problem is we went back to our structural designer, had a discussion with him as to what options we could take to rework the design and get this project back into a manageable schedule. In discussions with him, we ended up deciding that we would take bar joists out of the design. We ended up going to a beam design for carrying the roof on the new penthouse. The moving to the beams gave us a much more favorable lead time on that. However, it ended up then leading to issues with basically decking. In the long run, we worked through these issues back and forth with the general contractor and the prime contractor on this, which is Davis Hauk. Had multiple discussions with them as to what we could do to reduce these lead times as much as possible. Essentially what we ended up with is we ended up with a beam design. However, in order to use decking that is more readily available, we ended up having to add more beams to the design than would be normally used. So with all of this, however, though, we do bring this project back in to where we should be able to complete the penthouse with this new design by the end of the year. What this will allow us to do is it will allow us then to go ahead and have all of the mechanical work done during the basically the heart of the winter. And then we can go back in and we can do the air handler replacement, which was originally scheduled to hopefully be completed during October or November of this year. The air handler replacement can then be completed during March of next year, during what would be a optimal time to do air handler replacements on a jail. That way we can try and do these replacements without emptying the facilities. With this entire process, the process has all been tied around the fact that the number one problem we've had at the satellite jail has all been tied to cooling of the building. It's been the cooling that has been the main issue here the entire time. With these changes and with the schedule update, it appears that with these changes, we can have the project completed as necessary before we enter cooling season next season. It causes some delays to the schedule, but we still meet the intent of what the schedule was, and that is to make sure that we don't go into another cooling season with the existing cooling system in place.
Might also note that the correction staff has asked us if it's possible to not have to remove inmates out of pods that we're working in. So we've kind of worked through those issues, both with corrections and GHR. We will have to do a few extra things to provide additional air in there. We also have to put CO2 detector in there to make sure that we've got no buildup. Not only are we supplying fresh air, but we're also having to take out the appropriate amount of the space as well. So that was a little bit addition after the bids were out, but it may cost us a few dollars, very few dollars, to put in CO2 detectors and to rework some fans to both pull and push air movement into and out of the building. So be fairly easy to do, we believe. So, but that did throw a little curve at us kind of after the fact. So, but we responded and be able to handle it for them.
And I appreciate you doing that. That takes any potential liability likely off of us, and makes for a better living condition for folks that are going to be in the facility. So thank you for the extra work and moving forward with that. Go ahead, Stan.
Are these delays and design changes affecting the bids at all? Are bids still solid?
The change in the design, due to the fact that we had to go from bar joists to beams, due to the fact that we had to add beams, plus extra work that is tied to the project, that is tied to those beams and everything else with that. Ended up with we sent all of these design changes out to the contractor. The contractor then reviewed all the design changes and sent back what their cost proposal would be for those design changes. After they sent us back that cost proposal, we sat down with them, including the Davis Houck and multiple subs that they have, to discuss these design changes and figure out where those costs came from and to analyze those costs with them. They then went back, reassessed the cost changes, and brought back a revised pricing for that RFP. The final cost change for that RFP ended up being a total of $30,435.57. I sent that over to Dana this morning. He has a copy of that, so he's aware of what that number is.
Yeah.
After the discussion, after going through this with John Aquino in our office, who is a very experienced architect, I had discussions with him just to make sure that he was also comfortable with what we were seeing in terms of this pricing. We felt that with what we were asking them to do and what we were trying to do to expedite the process and keep the project within a reasonable time frame, that the pricing that they had provided was reasonable.
After looking at it, I felt the same way. Their efforts, GHR's efforts to identify what those costs were, and with what they did to reach out and try and make sure that it was a fair cost, I thought was terrific. Might be noted that even with this change that will be issued, they're still the low bidder. They have not exceeded the second price. So,
Yes, go ahead, Jenny.
I just, it seems like from what you're saying, this is the way to go as far as making sure that it's a safe environment for the staff and the people who are housed there. But sorry, I'm making notes here because I'm not real up to speed on all the terms, but the bar joists versus the beams, is that going to affect the longevity of the build in any way? Like, is it still going to be as durable for as long a time as it would be with the bar joists?
The bar joist to beam switch is not really going to have any effect on the longevity of the building. It's not going to have any effect on the use of the building or essentially anything that you see. It's more of the fact that under standard design of what that building is, you would standard go with bar joist. It has to do with just designability. It has to do with constructability and things of that nature. So that's what the original design was based upon. Switching over to the beam design, as we said, is essentially just something that we have done to try to mitigate the issue that we're up against with these bar joist lead times.
All right, thank you. That clears it up a little for me.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. Thank you.
Next one's up is the hail damage HVAC replacement equipment. I'm going to turn it over to Richard, who's also involved with this project. The buildings impacted here are Brookins, JDC, and the courthouse. You want to give any update on the latest talks with the vendor?
So this job is essentially just a one-for-one replacement of systems and units that have been damaged during the hail storm. As of right now, there is no work to really be done at this exact point in time, mostly based on the fact that we're just waiting for equipment to come in. Since this is a one-to-one replacement, there's not really a lot of prep work that can be completed. I had a quick discussion today with the contractor just to verify that everything was moving along as they saw fit and to make sure that there wasn't any delays that they could see at this point in time. All the equipment has been ordered. At this point in time, they haven't seen anything that is extensive lead times. This project was originally scheduled to complete on November 30th, and at this point in time, there's nothing that shows that we won't be able to meet that time. Once we get all the necessary equipment delivery dates in hand, and once we have a better idea of when the contractor, which in this case is Helm Group, once we have all of the necessary equipment in hand for that, we will sit down with Dana, have a discussion with the county as to what the best course of action is in terms of schedule, how we can properly get onto each of these buildings and get these units replaced, and we'll go ahead and move forward with the project.
Questions? Hearing none. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
All right. In terms of other business, does anyone here have any other business they'd like to bring forward? Okay, there is no presiding officer.
I missed communications. Just
ahead.
briefly, I wanted to mention, I've been contacted by a number of constituents who are interested in touring the county poorhouse. The county poorhouse. I've been contacted by a number of constituents who are especially interested in touring the county poorhouse. So I guess we can continue to maybe talk through this if possible, but I guess I just wanted to make sure that it was publicly on the record. That was something that was a point of interest.
Constituents have expressed an interest in touring the
Poorhouse.
courthouse.
That is a thing that we have. Okay, yes.
No, constituents. So,
Happy to follow up through email, and we can, CC the people who are necessary. But again, I just wanted them to feel seen. Yep, I figured you would. Thank you.
okay, thank you. No presiding officers report. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, the 5th, and we stand adjourned. Thank you.